Today we'll start third unit. In third unit, we have subprograms. How subprograms are implemented. In what ways you can probably implement. It is nothing but conditional statement. Conditional statements include your, first statement, while statement, and do while, if statement. These all comes under guarded commands, right? So in unit three, today we'll start unit three. Try to ensure that we'll finish the third unit, and after we complete the syllabus, then we will probably discuss the programs with various programming languages. Okay, not only with C. Of course, we have already worked with C, and you're working with C++ as well. But then uh, I'll be using this compiler to explain you. I have a couple of languages here which I can implement with the help of this compiler: Fortran, Pascal, Ada, all this Python, HTML, PHP, all these I can rather implement Java. So we'll see some examples from various languages and implement and probably see its demonstration after we complete the theory syllabus. Okay. So, but these concepts, which we are studying as part of this particular subject, are quite important, uh, and these are, like lifelong learning for the IT students or computer science students, right? If, people who are willing to work for IT industry for their entire, life, then it's a kind of lifelong learning. Today, in today's class, we are discussing subprograms. So the topics which are being covered as part of this particular class are introduction to subprograms, fundamentals of subprograms, design issues for subprograms, local referencing environments, parameter passing methods, parameters, subprogram names, overloaded subprograms, generic subprograms, design issues for functions, user-defined, overloaded operators, and coroutines. Out of this, many of the topics you are familiar with because you've already worked with a couple of programming languages. Subprograms are basically classified into the procedures or functions. Functions concept we have already seen with the help of C or C++, which are the mathematical, which help you to carry out some mathematical computations, rather, right? So, which we have seen, and how functions can be implemented. The mechanism behind the implementation of function you've already seen. Like there is a calling function, there is a call function. The function which is calling is said to be the calling function, or callee, and the function which is being called, okay, is said to be the called function. Okay, so when the function is being called, what happens? The control will be transferred from the calling function to the call function, and then the processing after being done at the call function, the values if have to be returned will be returned, and then control will be returned back to the calling function. So when you are calling the function, you may be sometimes passing the parameters also, right? So the parameters which you define inside the function are said to be the formal parameters, and the parameters which you pass during the function call, you call it as actual parameters, isn't it? So these are concepts you already familiar with. Okay, yes or no? Some function, let us say add. So if you are calling this function, what happens when you're calling this add function here? This function is said to be main function, is said to be the calling function, right? Or you say callee, right? And this function is said to be the called function. Yes, sir. So what happens when you're calling this function here? These values are said to be the actual values. If you're passing parameters instead of 10 comma 20 like x comma y, of which values have been read before, like are initialized inside the program, okay, then these are said to be the actual parameters, right? Actual parameters. And these are said to be the formal parameters. Yes, sir. So basics, I'm just checking a review of what you know before, and then from there on, I'll take on to the scientific way of learning this concept, and then with respect to different programming languages, how classification in general is available, and then in what way the different programming languages have taken that into consideration, and in what way they are implementing these different kind of classifications, and in what way they are restricting certain issues or addressing certain issues. All this we're going to discuss in this particular chapter. So these are said to be the formal parameters, right? So what happens when you're calling the function like add? If these actual parameters are actual values, right? They are being passed, right? Correspondingly, right? First actual parameter will be, rather assigned to the first, formal parameter. Condition, the value that you're passing from the actual parameter, you should have the same kind of data type in the formal parameter, right? These are all the conditions which are part of the design issues rather being addressed by all the programming languages you're taking into consideration, right? Anyway, you do not know about what was there behind when this was being implemented, right? This you have already used it beforehand, and now you are going back and then learning the concepts. When these concepts are required to be adopted to the programming languages, what kind of issues you may probably resolve with, and then how they have been resolved or addressed by different programming languages, we have seen, right? But then you have seen a couple of languages already with implementation of this kind, and you do not know in what way they have. But then I'm just taking a kind of analyzation of the same, and then making you understand, and then taking you back, and then again bringing you front, right? So you just look at here, you can see the actual parameters which are passing, right? So the parameter here which you are passing, if it is integer kind, then the first formal parameter also must be of integer kind, right? Because when this value is being sent, generally, in general, if you see the subprogram classification, you find call by value, call by result, call by value result, call by name, call by reference, right? Call by yeah. So these are all 5, 6, 5. So then you may not know under which particular general category these implementations of this. First, the values are passed, right? Correspondingly, right? So first value is being passed to the first argument, second is going to be passed to the second. So what kind of issue you may result with type checking is required to be taken care of. So these are all part of programming language issues which probably we discuss, of course, right? So values will be passed correspondingly, provided the type is compatible with the actual. Then what happens? The control will be transferred from the volume function to call function. Then the processing will take place. Fine. It means the execution of that particular function is going to be done. Right. So once the processing is get done at the particular function, then if there is some value to be written, here I am not returning any value. Is the reason why the return type is void. But if you are returning some value from the function, then you must be having the return type. For example, if I am returning integer value instead of cout, C, if I say the return C, right? Return C. If I say this. So the C value type is integer. So what do you say? Integer. Here instead of void, you say return type as int, right? So the value which is now let us, for example, if I am going with the return type, then the value will be returned. So when it is returned, you must be holding it in some variable again. Some variable like let us say Z you have. Okay. So in Z you must be holding, right? So that Z you are going to either print after this value, right? So what is happening if I am passing some values? during the function. The first values are going to be passed to the function. Once the processing is done at a particular function, then the values will be returned first, then the control will be returned. This is what the mechanism is, right? So this kind of functions are said to be in-out functions in ADA, right? In general, we call it as well, right? These are said to be passed by value result, right? You are copying some values, right, through actual arguments, right, into formal, and then after once the processing is get done at the function side, the values which are being returned the other way around is nothing but are being copied into Z here in the Kali, right? So the actual arguments are copied first before you start executing the function, right? When the function call is made, and once the function executed, then the values which are being returned from this particular function are being copied here. When you say Z equal to the other way around, that value will be copied in this Z, that is local variable. So Z is a local variable of this function, right? So now the result of the function, if I have to see in the main, I'll be getting it from Z, right? So these kind of functions are said to be called by value result, right? You have copying the values first during the function call, and then result also being copied here after the function is executed, right? So this is what the mechanism behind the function, right? So when you are calling the function, what happens? First, the values are going to be passed. The other way around, it is copied in the formal argument, and then once the function is executed, right? And then if there are certain values to be returned from the function, they will be nothing but the result. Generally, what will be returned from the function? The results, right? Are the outputs, right? So the result will be returned. When it is returned to the callee, that will be copied into the local variables of the callee, right? Then the control will be returned to the main function. Okay, so this is the mechanism behind a function of call by value result. Fine. So in call by value result, what is happening is first the values that you are passing through the actual arguments are going to be copied in the formal arguments, and then the control will be transferred to the function, and the execution will take place at the function. And once the result which is being obtained from the function will be returned to the callee, is nothing but copied into the local variables of the callee, and the control will be returned to the callee, so that if you have any instructions after the function call, then that instructions are going to be executed, right? So this is what the mechanism generally behind the functions in C you have seen, right? So you may have now observed that generally what kind of values you pass as arguments, the inputs to the function. What can be the inputs to this function? Adding two numbers, so input of this number or inputs of this function are numbers. So you take numbers as arguments, and then what could be the result out of this? Of course, the summation of those two inputs, which is nothing but C, is the result. So result you will return. So in general, the parameters that you take for a function will probably take the inputs, right? Will take the inputs. So if you have only parameters, we say such kind of functions are in-mode functions, right? And what is going to be returned from the function? The result will be returned. So that is nothing but the output. So if a function is returning the value but not taking arguments, then we say it is out mode functions, right? If it is having both in-out, then we say in-out mode functions, right? So this function, if I use return type, then I say it is in-out mode function. If I have only the parameters, I don't have return type, let us say I have void here, then I say it is in function. If I have the return type, then I say out function, I say in-out function, right? So I think concept behind the function, mechanism behind the function, and a certain aspect based on which the functions can be classified is also being clear. Now we can move on to the concepts. These are the topics which you have already known with it, but you may have not analyzed, right? So I have just done the analysis of what you learned before on functions. Now we will see from the scientific point of view, right? from the designer point of view. When you're having the functions as part of the programming language, what kind of issues, what kind of parameters, what kind of classifications, what kind of attributes that you have to take, and then how the different programming languages are addressing those issues and all we can see, right? Two fundamental abstraction facilities we have is the process abstraction and data abstraction, right? Process abstraction, you can implement it with the help of functions, right? This was started way back when structured programming languages came into being, right? C is one of the structured programming languages, right? Pascal is a procedure-oriented programming language. So in Pascal, you have procedures. In C you have functions. So both, of course, implement this process abstraction facility, right? Process in the sense that there is some operation is going to be carried out in some function, right, which is being hidden from the user. Yes or no? So the user is going to just implement this function by calling it. He does not bother about how that function is going to be implemented. For example, when you go to a bank to withdraw the money, withdrawal is a function, right? Withdrawal is a function. But then you have certain operations behind withdrawing the amount. The teller will do it. When you just give a indent, right, by filling the form to the teller, right, to withdraw the amount. So you will be just calling it with a name, but you are not bothered about what things will go behind, right? The teller will check, the amount which you are asking to withdraw is available or not. Do you have sufficient funds or not? And before that, you will be verified, right? You will be verified with your signature, your name, your signature, your details will be verified. Once you are the authentic user, then it will check the amount. Do you have the sufficient amount to withdraw? And there is some constraint sometimes, like when you are withdrawing the amount, you can't withdraw the entire amount. By keeping some, minimum amount you can withdraw. So whether you are, able to satisfy that constraint or not. So by keeping that minimum amount to be in your account, satisfying that constraint, will that amount will be withdrawn from the bank or not will be all done by the teller, right? So this you are not bothered about in knowing. You don't bother about in knowing, which is nothing but hidden, right? So it is hidden from you, right? Hiding the implementation details are non-essential details, right? Hiding non-essential details are implementation details is known as abstraction. So with the help of functions, you can implement abstraction, which is said to be process abstraction. Then after the object-oriented programming system came into being, data abstraction is implemented. Like for example, you have an object, right? You have an object class. How do you implement object? Object is an instance of a class. Listen, object is an instance of a class. Inside the class, what is that you have? Like for example, you have employee class, right? So in employee class, you have certain data and you have certain functions declared under public mode, right? All this is there. All these are there. Now you want to implement, for one employee, then you create an instance of this, class with the help of, instantiation. Creating an instance is called instantiation. Instance is nothing but an object, right? So you want to call these functions. You have function 1, function 2, function 3, like that. You can call all the functions with the help of this object. Object is a data. What is object? Object is a data. It's like a similar to a kind of a variable. So inside this, lot of things are being hidden. All these functions, right? You can call F1, you can call F2, all these functions you can call. Yes or no? So you can see this employee is encapsulating the data and the functions. Yes or no? So all together are wrapped up in a single entity called class, right? So this is the data. When you create an instance of this class, is nothing but the data. So inside the data, a lot of things are hidden, and you can implement all that by just invoking the respective functions through this particular object. Yes or no? So which is all being made possible after this, uh, object-oriented programming system came into being after 1980s, rather, right? So this is said to be data abstraction, right? So these are two different fundamental ways of providing the abstraction. Fundamentals of subprograms. Each subprogram has a single entry point, right? So how do you implement the subprograms? Through a function call. So function call itself is the entry for the implementation, for its implementation, right? The calling program is suspended when the program is called, when the subprogram is called, the calling subprogram, the one who is calling, will be suspended because the control will be transferred from the calling to called. So it means the calling program is suspended, right, during the execution of the called subprogram. When the called subprogram is being executed, calling subprogram is automatically suspended, right? After once the subprogram is being executed and the control will be written from there, then again the calling subprogram will be revoked, right? Resumed. From where it has left off, there on it can start again executing and finish the execution, right, of its own, right? The control always return to the caller when the called subprogram execution terminates. Okay, so that's what I have explained before itself. Okay, this is the mechanism which I explained with an example before. The basic definition. A subprogram definition describes the interface to and the actions of the subprogram abstraction, right? The program definition, when you look at the subprogram definition, it describes the complete interface, right? How you can probably interact with, and then the subprogram will provide the abstraction for you, right? A subprogram call is an explicit request that the subprogram be executed. When you function call is an explicit request. You are requesting the operating system to implement the subprogram. Fine. So then what is happening? The control is transferred from the calling to call, and then call will get executed. Subprogram header is a part of the definition, including the name, the kind of program, and the formal parameters. Right. In C++, we call that as a prototype, function prototype, right? So the parameter profile of a subprogram is the number, order, and type of its parameters, right? So generally in C language, when you have a function, what you do is you first give its prototype before. For example, you have certain arguments here to give, and then you will have the main function. Then you can have this definition of the add function, right? Here you can probably have the implementation of this one. Okay. So you can have the implementation. So this is said to be what? This is said to be the function prototype, right? Or the header. So what do we give function prototype? To inform the compiler that this kind of function is defined, somewhere in your program. If there is a function call in the main of this kind, compiler will be, in a dilemma whether that function is there or not. If you give this header before, the compiler is already notified that this kind of function defined before, after the main, rather, right? Or it could be somewhere in the program. So it will find when you are making a function call in the main, right, and then it will execute the particular program. In Java, you call the same as signature, method signature, right? In Java, you call functions as methods, right? And the prototype of the method, we call it as signature, right? Function declaration in C and C++ are called function prototypes. A subprogram declaration provides the protocol, but not the body of the subprogram. It just defines, right? A declaration provides the protocol that notifies the compiler that this kind of function is defined somewhere in the program, so that if a function call of that is made somewhere, then it will identify and then execute that respective subprogram. A formal parameter is a dummy variable, as I explained before, right? Listed in the subprogram header and used in the subprogram. The actual parameter represents a value or address used in the subprogram call statement. So during the function call, the parameters which you call are said to be the actual parameters, and during the function definition, the parameters which are defined are said to be the formal parameters. The binding of actual parameters to formal parameters is done by position, as I said, in the first slide itself, that the binding of the actual parameters, when the values are being passed, the first value will be binded with the first formal parameters. So correspondingly, this binding will take place. The first actual parameter is bound to the first formal parameters, and so forth. So position is more important, right? Keywords. The name of the formal parameters to which an actual parameter is to be bound is specified with the actual parameter. Okay, so parameters can appear in any order. Parameters can be appear in any order, but then it should be while calling should be passed in the respective order, right? It means you can have first integer, next character, next float. You can have any number of data types, no issue. But then while being called, you need to pass the actual parameter corresponding to that respective formal parameters. You can have default values also in formal parameters. Like in C++, it is allowed. Under classification of C++, I said that the fourth one is constant reference, right? So if you have default arguments, you can say that is called by constant reference. But these default arguments must be at the end. But in C++, default arguments must appear at the last, because the parameters are positionally associated. Because when you are calling, the parameters which you are going to pass should be right. In C, for example, in C++, you have some parameters. Let us say simple interest. Okay, simple interest. So rate of interest, let us say, is fixed. So principal amount is one parameter. And principal amount could also be float. If you want, you can have it as float. And time can be varied. It can be for 4 years, 5 years, and all kind of thing. So you can say time is also can be float if you want, 2.5 years and all kind of thing. Then if rate of interest is fixed, I can say it is a constant, right? Rate of interest, and it is, let us say, I can initialize during the function definition itself. Let us say 11.5, which is fixed. Okay, fine. Constant, it is a float kind, right? Automatically will be taken care. But if you want explicitly, you can write no show, right? Constant float r equal to also. So this argument, this argument set to be default argument. It means you need to pass value for this argument. Even if you don't pass, what it will take 11.5. So r will be taken care by 11.5. So you must be having some logic here. Simple interest equal to PTR by 100 and all kind of thing, right? So while you are calling this function in the main or wherever you want to call it, rather, right? So you will be passing the values for the first two arguments. If you pass first two argument value, that is enough. Third one will be automatically taken from the default, rather, right? So principal amount, let us say for example 25,700 15.75 paisa, and time, let us say 2.5 years, right? Is that now what happens? This value will be passed to P, and this value will be passed to T, and R will be 7.5. Fine. So this kind of functions are said to be called by constant reference, right? So, and they are being implemented with the help of default arguments, right? And you may have seen, of course, C++ and both will allow you this kind of argument. So one thing you have observed, the default argument must be at the end, right? It cannot be at the beginning. If it is at the beginning, there will be an issue because the parameters that you pass, the first parameter will be assigned to the first, actual parameter of your function call. Second will be binded with the second. But if you have first default, then what happens? This value goes to the default, and for the remaining also you need. So that's the reason why. So this is how you can see the syntax which has been defined and the syntactic rules which are defined. They are defined keeping in view of all side effects. So by overcoming with all side effects, these are being defined. So that's how the languages designer, when they design the programming construct, they will ensure that they are their programming constructs are error free and side effects free. Okay, I hope this is clear to all of you. C# method can accept a variable or name or parameter as long as they are of the same type. Okay. Procedures and functions. Subprograms can be implemented using procedures and functions. Procedures are collections of statements that define parameterized computations, right? Basically, Pascal era, we call them procedures. Then function structurally resembles procedures. Of course, they are very similar to that of procedures, right? Structure, if you see from structure point of view, functions are quite similar to procedures, but are semantically modeled on mathematical functions. Most of the time, these functions are being used to implement the mathematical computations, right? They are expected to produce no side effects. In practice, program functions have side effects. Design issues associated with the subprogram. So here, these are the design issues which, when a language designer have to keep in mind while he is trying to implement the subprogram programming concept, for his programming language, right? So, what parameter passing methods are provided? Parameter passing methods, we'll see. Probably there are about 6 types. We'll see. Are parameter type checked? The parameters that you are going to pass, are they going to be checked? The actual one is compatible with the formal one or not? Are local variables static or dynamic? The local variables which you have of the function, are they static or dynamic? Can subprograms definitions appear in other subprogram definitions? Even you can see the definition of the subprogram. Can it be appear in other subprograms also? These are all some of the issues. Can subprograms be overloaded? Functions can have with the same name repeatedly doing different kind of tasks, which is rather allowed in some programming language like C++ and Java and all kind of thing. So is that being allowed? Can subprograms be generic? Can you have a generic operation? Can you specify an operation and implement it for all type of data? Generic implementation means with the help of templates that you can implement in C++, rather, right? So templates are being used as generic data types in C++. You can specify the function with the help of generic, functions. You need not to specify the type over which you are going to implement these functions, but rather at the time of implementation, you are going to specify the type. So the advantage of having this generic functions is you can implement it for any kind. Once you specify the function, you can implement it for any kind. Say, for example, you are trying to implement addition over integer, character, long, double, and other kind of stuff. Instead of having separate function being written for all these data types, you can have a generic function using the template in C++. And the same can be implemented for whatever the data type you want, right, at the time of implementation. This is possible. So these are all some of the we'll see probably, and how these are the these issues have been addressed by different programming languages. Local referencing environments. Local variables of the functions can be static dynamic. They are bound to storage. Advantages of having the stack dynamic are they support the recursion, right? If you have non-static variables of a function, then these local variables can be used for recursion kind of thing, right? Most of your sorting, searching, and most of the data structure algorithms, when you are trying to implement, they probably need it as stack dynamic because you need them to be implemented with the help of recursion, right? Disadvantages like allocation and deallocation of the these variables during the runtime, and initialization of the same will take some amount of time, and addressing is also indirecting, so indirect way of addressing has to be used, and the history of the subprograms has to be maintained, which is quite sensitive. These are all some of the disadvantages, but then advantages are recursion and all kind of thing. And memory is not a criteria and not an issue nowadays. So most of the programming languages are going with stack dynamic, of course. And another kind of local referencing environment of variables, of local variables and functions, we use static. So if they are static, there are no indirection. You can directly call, no runtime overhead, but you cannot implement the recursion also. Okay. Now we'll see what are the different types of parameter passing methods available in general, which are being used or adopted by many of the programming languages and given different names by their own. Pass by value, pass by result, pass by value result, pass by reference, pass by name. These are the different parameter passing methods. We'll see one after the other. Pass by value. When do you say it is a pass by value? When you are passing some value to the procedure. This is your caller, this is your callee, right? This is your caller and this is your callee. When caller is nothing but calling function, right? Callee is nothing but call function. So these are said to be what? Actual. And these are said to be what? Formal. So what happens when you're calling a function, right? Caller is calling the callee, then the actual parameters are going to be substituted in the formal parameters, right? So this kind of method, a parameter passing method, is said to be the call by value. Okay, call by value, and this is said to be the in mode kind of thing, right? In mode. And here in this, you can see callee is returning some value to the called, right? Callee is returning, generally what kind of value will be returned? The result, right? Result which you obtain after the processing get done at the callee will be returned. So this kind of mode is said to be out mode, of course, but then kind of parameter passing is said to be called by result, right? Called by result. This is called by result. This is called by value. Okay. And then the next one where you can see you have in out mode, right? This is said to be in out mode, where you are passing some values. The caller is passing the actual values to the callee, and after callee instructions get done, executed, then the result which is being obtained is returned to the caller, right? Is returned to the caller. So while calling, you're passing the actual values which are being copied here, right? So it is called by value, you can say. It is called by value, you can say. Then the result which is being obtained is returned to the caller, so it is called by result also. So it is a combination of both. So I can say call by value result. This is a call by value result. This is call by value when function is in mode. When function is out mode, it is said to be call by result. When it is in out mode, we say call by value result. I'll again give you the clarity between all these three. In call by value, what happens? The actual, these are the actual, right? Actual values are actual parameters. So actual parameters are being copied into the formal parameters. Okay. And whereas in call by result, what happens? The result being obtained from the Kali will be copied into the local variables of caller. Okay, so this kind of function mode is said to be out mode, and this kind of parameter passing method is said to be called by result, right? When you have both the options available, it means you are passing the values and you're getting the result, or the function is returning the result, right? So the actual parameters are being copied here in formal parameters, and then after the function processing is done, then the result being obtained is returned to the caller, right? So when you have both this, then you say it is called by value result. Okay, so these are the three kind, and then we'll see the remaining in the subsequent slides. I hope till here it is clear to all of you. If you have any doubts, you can raise here. So pass by value is said to be the in mode, where the value of the actual parameters is used to initialize the corresponding formal parameters, normally implemented by copying. How that values are going to pass is by copying that values, right? Can be implemented by transmitting an access path, but not recommended. When copies are used, additional storage is required. This is another issue which is required to be taken care by the language designer. When you are copying, some storage is required, rather, right? Storage and copy operations can be sometimes costly. Pass by result. When a parameter is passed by result, no value is transmitted to the subprogram. The corresponding formal parameters acts as a local variable. Its value is transmitted to the caller's actual parameter when control is returned to the caller. So the formal parameters of the parameter is nothing but the local variable, right, of the subprogram, which is going to be transmitted, to the actual parameter, okay, of the caller. Require again extra storage here. Copy operation also rather required, because how does the formal parameter, which is nothing but the local variable, the function being returned here in the actual parameter of the caller is by being copied, rather, right? The potential problem is whichever formal parameter is copied back will represent the current value of P1. If say your value are being returned through the parameters, then what happens? The returned value will now act as the local variable for the particular function. So that is another drawback sometimes. You'll probably see it with the help of examples in the coming slides. Okay. Pass by value result. When you have both the options available, right? You are passing the values to the formal parameters, that is by copying the actual parameter values in the formal parameters, and then what happens after the processing is done at the callee side, the result which is being obtained at the callee side is returned to the caller is nothing but again copying, rather, in the local variables of the actual variables of the caller, rather, right? So that when happens when say it is in out mode, right? So kind of parameter passing is said to be the pass by value result, right? The disadvantage of this pass by value result is the disadvantage of both we have discussed before, right? The disadvantage associated with pass by value and pass by result is of course the disadvantage of this pass by value result. Then we have pass by reference and pass by name. We'll probably discuss about all this in the coming classes in the next class.